morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Savannah, Georgia. Today's verse is Titus 2:1. But as for you, speak the things which are fitting for sound doctrine. Now in chapter 1, Titus was charged by Paul to set up elders in the churches around his area, and Paul gave some qualifications for the elders and then some of their duties, primarily looking out for false doctrine and divisions which will cause strife and trouble in the church. Those elders have to deal with that, including even excommunication if necessary. And now it says, but you, Titus, as for you, speak the things which are fitting for sound doctrine. Now, I thought this was really interesting. One of the real key parts of Titus is doctrine, which is often translated as teaching. I looked up this word particularly used here, doctrine, and in the New Testament, it turns out that a little over half the time it's used negatively. In other words, the doctrines of men or worldly teaching or something like that, which tells me there's a lot of false doctrine out there. And so we have to be on the lookout for that and have sound doctrine. One of the best accompanying books for Titus are the two Timothys. So let's look up a cross-reference from each one. How about 1 Timothy 4:16? Pay close attention to yourself and to your teaching. That's the same word for doctrine. Persevere in these things, for as you do this, you will ensure salvation, both for yourself and for those who hear you. It makes sense. If I'm teaching the wrong doctrine, people aren't going to be saved, including myself. So it's really important to get the right teaching. So what is the right teaching? Well, let's look at 2 Timothy 3:16. All scripture is inspired by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness. It's scripture. It has to be scripturally based. Now, God does allow a lot of variety within the church. Let's say, for example, music. You could have everything from classical hymns on an organ to hip-hop music. And all of that's fine as long as the words, of course, are, scripturally based. But there could be a lot of variety. How do we do communion? I've seen a variety of that, and that's great. But there should not be a variety of doctrines. It should be scripturally based doctrine. That is of most importance there. Now, as we get back to our main verse, as we are going to read through the rest of Titus chapter 2 in the coming weeks, we're going to see that Paul is addressing different people within the church: older men, older women, younger women, bond slaves, and a variety. A healthy church should have a spread of generations and a variety of parts of society, and that makes for a healthy church to be less homogeneous. Now, as much as possible, sometimes you're in a particular village or city that's just naturally homogeneous, but as much as you can have it, have a variety that makes your church healthy in the church. And I visit a different church just about every week as I travel, and I like to look for two main things. Number one, do they have sound doctrine? Are they a Bible-based church and don't veer outside of Scripture? And that's quite important. Now, I prefer a church that teaches line by line and verse by verse. I'm not opposed to topical teaching, but I think if you do verse by verse, then you're not going to skip any particular parts of the word, and you'll get the whole Bible taught. But there you go. The second thing I look for, is it a loving church? Can I come in as a visitor, as a stranger, and be loved on? People engage with me, greet me, sit next to me, and so forth. And one of the best ways to see if a church is loving is to look at the youth. That's a great barometer. Are the youth engaged with everybody else in the church, or are they sitting on their own just looking at their cell phones? That's a really good barometer of whether a church is healthy and loving. So let's choose to love every moment, because then we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.